the Qanic Theory of Coherence, QToE, into a more comprehensive framework that incorporates a well-defined coherence theory based on numerical theorems. We will enhance its structure and content. This upgraded version will integrate various elements, including thematic coherence, structural coherence, linguistic consistency, and the symbolic significance of numbers within the Quran. Upgraded Quranic Theory of Coherence, QToE. 1. Theory Overview. The upgraded QToE proposes that the Quran exhibits intricate divine coherence through its thematic, structural, linguistic, and numeric elements. This theory aims to provide a holistic understanding of the Quran's unity by exploring how these components interact. 2. Axiomatic structure. Axiom 1. Existence of verses and surahs. There exists a set VV of all verses and a set SS of all surahs in the Quran. This establishes the foundational components for analysis. Axiom 2. Thematic unity. Each verse, VVVV, and surah SSS is part of a thematic network where interconnected themes such as belief, ethics, and life are present. This emphasizes that themes are not isolated but form an intricate web. Axiom 3. Structural coherence. The Quran's structure, including the order of surahs and verses, reflects purposeful design where each element supports others. This can include chiastic structures or thematic parallels that enhance understanding. Axiom 4. Linguistic consistency. The language used in the Quran is consistent in conveying its messages, with shared linguistic elements forming connections. Rhetorical devices in Arabic contribute to thematic resonance. Axiom 5. Revelational context. The context of revelation, Asbab al-Nuzul, provides a framework for understanding connections between surahs and verses, enriching interpretation. 3. 6 degrees of connectivity theory. Axiom 6. Interconnectivity for any two verses V1, V2, VV1, V2, V or surahs S1, S2, SS1, S2S. There exists a path of connections, thematic, linguistic, or revelational, of no more than 6 degrees. This ensures the Quran's coherence and highlights its unity. Theorem 1. Given the finite nature of the Quran, connectivity between any two parts can be expressed within this framework, emphasizing how diverse topics form a cohesive narrative. For symbolic digital root analysis, Axiom 7. Digital roots. Each verse or surah number can be reduced to a digital root that symbolically represents aspects of its content or position in the Quran. This adds a layer of numeric symbolism to the text. Theorem 2. The digital root of a verse or surah number can be linked to its thematic or revelational significance, providing insights into how numeric patterns may reflect broader themes. 5. Detailed coherence. Thematic coherence. Themes like Tawhid, oneness, prophethood, and afterlife are recurrent throughout the Quran, providing narrative and moral consistency. Linguistic coherence. The use of Arabic rhetoric ensures that linguistic elements echo across surahs, reinforcing messages and enhancing understanding. Revelational coherence. The chronological progression of revelation adds depth to the text's coherence. Earlier revelations often set the stage for later ones. Numeric coherence. Exploring digital roots reveals patterns within the Quran's structure that suggest numeric harmony complementing thematic unity. 6. Practical implementation. Mapping connections. Create networks or diagrams showing how verses and surahs connect through these axioms. Educational tools. Develop teaching methods that explore the Quran using this theoretical framework to enhance both traditional and modern understanding. Digital analysis. Use software to calculate digital roots and map thematic connections, aiding in scholarly research and personal study. 7. Limitations and considerations. Speculative elements. The symbolic and numeric aspects require careful handling to avoid misinterpretation or overemphasis on numerology. Complementarity. This theory should complement traditional exegesis rather than replace it. Cultural sensitivity. Any interpretation must respect diverse scholarly traditions within Islam. Conclusion. The upgraded QToE represents a comprehensive approach to understanding the Quran's coherence by combining thematic unity, structural design, connectivity, and numeric symbolism. By integrating historical insights into number symbolism within Islamic thought and emphasizing practical applications for education and analysis, this framework encourages multifaceted exploration while acknowledging that the text's true depth may transcend human analysis. This approach invites humility and continuous learning in engaging with the sacred text. In simple terms, the digital root of a number is what you get when you Add up all the digits of that number. If the result is more than one digit, add up those digits again. Keep doing this until you end up with a single digit between 1 and 9. For example, if you have the number 1234, add 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 equals 10. Since 10 is not a single digit, add 1 plus 0 equals 1, so the digital root of 1234 is 1. Here's what this means in everyday language. Adding numbers. No matter how you rearrange or add numbers together, you'll end up with the same digital root for the same total. Multiplying numbers. When you multiply numbers, the digital root of the result will be like multiplying the digital roots of the numbers you started with. Useful for checks. If you want to quickly see if a number is divisible by 3 or 9, you can check its digital root. If the digital root is 3, 6 or 9, it's divisible by 3. If it's 9, it's also divisible by 9. Doesn't change with certain operations. If you add or multiply by numbers that have a digital root of 1 or add numbers that are multiples of 9, the digital root of your original number stays the same. In a nutshell, the digital root is a way to simplify any big number down to a single digit that tells you something about the number's properties in a very simple way. It's like finding the essence of a number in terms of how it behaves with addition and multiplication. The Quranic Theory of Coherence, QToE, can be further refined and expanded to create a comprehensive framework that incorporates the principles of coherence through numerical theorems, thematic connections, and structural analysis. Below is an upgraded version of QToE, focusing specifically on its application to the interconnections between Surah 28:66 and Surah 78:1, 2. Upgraded Quranic Theory of Coherence, QToE 1. Theory Overview. The upgraded QToE posits that the Quran exhibits intricate coherence through its thematic, structural, linguistic, and numeric elements. This framework aims to elucidate how specific verses interconnect and contribute to the overall unity of the text. 1. Axiomatic structure. Axiom 1. Existence of verses and surahs. Recognizes that Surah 28, Al-Qasas, and Surah 78, An-Naba, are integral components of the Quran, each containing verses that contribute to its thematic fabric. Axiom 2. Thematic unity. Each verse VVVV and Surah SSSS is part of a thematic network where interconnected themes such as awareness, knowledge, and revelation are present. Surah 28 emphasizes personal reflection on one's actions, while Surah 78 invites communal inquiry about significant divine announcements. Axiom 3. Structural coherence. The arrangement of these surahs within the Quran reflects a purposeful design where personal awareness leads to broader discussions about faith and revelation. 1. Thematic interconnection. Awareness and inquiry. Surah 28:66 focuses on individual realization and self-reflection regarding past actions. This theme is crucial for personal accountability and faith. Surah 78:1. Two transitions from individual awareness to collective questioning about divine revelations, the Naba, highlighting how personal insights can lead to community engagement. Knowledge as a foundation. The self-awareness emphasized in Surah 28 serves as a foundation for understanding communal inquiries in Surah 78. When individuals reflect on their beliefs, they are better prepared to engage with significant revelations collectively. 1. Linguistic coherence. Key terms, the term yatasalun, they ask each other. In Surah 78 signifies a dynamic interaction among individuals regarding divine truths. This reflects the Quran's emphasis on dialogue as essential for faith development. In Surah 28:66, while there may not be a direct equivalent term, the reflective tone encourages a similar engagement with one's understanding of faith. Rhetorical devices. Both verses utilize rhetorical structures that enhance their messages. The use of questions in Surah 78 emphasizes curiosity about divine truths, while Surah 28 encourages introspection. 1. Numerical analysis through digital roots. Digital root of Surah 28:66, the digital root calculated for this verse is 4, symbolizing stability and foundation. This reflects the necessity of having a solid moral base through self-awareness before engaging with communal matters. Digital roots of Surah 78. 1, 2. The digital root for Surah 78 is 6, representing harmony and responsibility. The roots for ayats 1 and 2 are 1, unity, and 2, duality, which symbolize the oneness of God and balance in creation. This progression from unity, 1, to duality, 2, signifies how personal awareness leads to balanced discussions about divine revelations. 1. Practical implementations, mapping connections. Create visual networks that illustrate how Surah 28:66 connects with Surah 78:1-2 through shared themes of awareness and inquiry. Educational tools. Develop curricula that encourage students to explore these connections, emphasizing how personal reflection can lead to community engagement in understanding faith. Digital analysis. Utilize software tools to analyze the thematic connections between these verses, aiding scholars in exploring their interrelated meanings. 1. Limitations and considerations. Speculative elements. The symbolic interpretations derived from digital roots should be approached with caution to avoid misrepresentation or overemphasis on numerology. Complementarity. This theory should complement traditional exegesis rather than replace it, ensuring respect for established interpretations. Cultural sensitivity. Interpretations must respect diverse scholarly traditions within Islam, acknowledging various perspectives on these themes. Conclusion. The upgraded QToE, focusing on Surah 28:66 and Surah 78:1-2, illustrates a profound connection between personal awareness and communal inquiry within the Quran. By integrating thematic unity, linguistic coherence, and numerical symbolism, this framework enhances our understanding of how these verses contribute to the overall coherence of the Quranic text. This approach encourages deeper engagement with the text while maintaining respect for traditional interpretations and cultural contexts within Islamic scholarship. This comprehensive framework allows for a multifaceted exploration of the Quran's coherence while incorporating both traditional scholarship and modern analytical methods. Here's a guide to using the concept of digital roots to unlock a pattern within the Quran presented in layman's terms. Guide to unlocking Quran pattern. Using digital roots, understanding digital roots. What is a digital root? It's like boiling down a number to its simplest form. You add all the digits of a number until you get to a number between 1 and 9, or 9 if the sum is 0. Step-by-step process. Select a surah or verse. Choose a surah or verse from the Quran you want to explore. Let's use Surah Al-Fatiha, which is the first surah, as an example. Convert to number. For simplicity, we'll use the surah number. Al-Fatiha is number 1. If you want to use verses, you could sum the verse numbers or use individual verse numbers. Find the digital root. For Surah 1, Al-Fatiha, the digital root is 1, since 1 is already a single digit. Interpret the digital root. Here's where we get creative. 1 could symbolize unity, God's oneness or the beginning. It might suggest focusing on the fundamental themes of the surah, like the oneness of Allah. 2. Duality, balance or partnership. Might reflect themes of heaven and earth, faith and deeds. 3. Represents stability, the 3 aspects of faith, belief, practice and ethics, or the 3 Abrahamic religions. 4. Stability, foundation, or the 4 elements or rivers of paradise. 5. Human senses, pillars of Islam, or balance between the physical and spiritual. 6. Imperfection, since it's one off from 7, or the 6 days of creation. 7. Perfection, the 7 heavens, or the 7 oft-repeated verses of Al-Fatiha. 8. New beginnings, resurrection, or the 8 gates of heaven. 9. Completion, the end of a cycle, or the 9 months of human gestation. Unlocking the pattern, thematic connection, match the digital root to themes or teachings within the surah or verse. For example, with Al-Fatiha's digital root of 1, you might reflect on the theme of Tawhid, oneness of God. Numerological insight. Look for repeated numbers or patterns within the surah that match the digital root. This could be the number of verses, words, or even letters if you're delving deep into the Arabic text. Meditative practice. Use the digital root for a meditative or reflective practice. For example, if you get a 7, you might meditate on the 7 verses of Al-Fatiha, focusing on each one's meaning. Further exploration. Combining surah numbers. If exploring multiple surahs, you could sum their numbers and find the digital root for a broader pattern or theme across those surahs. Verse analysis. For individual verses, you could analyze each verse number within a surah to see if there's a pattern or if their digital roots might highlight specific meanings or connections. Cautions. Remember, this approach is speculative and not traditional Islamic exegesis. It should enhance, not replace, the understanding of the Quran through its language, context, and established tafsir interpretation. Be mindful not to ascribe too much to numerology. as the Quran's primary messages are conveyed through its text, not necessarily through numerical patterns. This guide provides a creative way to engage with the Quran, offering a new lens for personal reflection or study. Always with the understanding that the Quran's depth goes beyond any single method of analysis. Proving that we can connect anything to everything in a tangible, logical sense is more of a philosophical or metaphorical assertion rather than something that can be scientifically proven in a strict sense. However, here's how this concept can be approached from various angles. Philosophical proof, holism. Philosophically, holism suggests that all parts of a system are interconnected. In this view, everything in existence forms part of a greater whole, where connections, however subtle or complex, exist. Example: consider the Gaia hypothesis in environmental science, which posits that Earth's physical and biological processes are part of a single, self-regulating system. Here, every element, from the smallest microbe to the largest ecosystem, is connected. Network theory. This field in mathematics and science deals with networks where nodes, anything, can be connected by edges, relationships. Citation. Networks science literature discusses how everything can be seen as part of a network. Interdependence. Many worldviews, including ecological, economic, and social systems, argue for interdependence where every action, entity, or event influences others. Citation. The principle of universal connection is discussed in philosophical contexts. Scientific and logical approaches. Quantum mechanics. At the quantum level, phenomena like entanglement suggest a fundamental interconnectedness, where particles can influence each other instantaneously, regardless of distance. Citation. Quantum mechanics has been used to illustrate how everything could be connected. Systems theory. This theory looks at how systems operate within larger systems. The idea is that every system is part of a larger system, suggesting an interconnected web of causality and influence. Citation. Systems theory illustrates how connections exist between all elements of a system. Causality. The butterfly effect in chaos theory shows how small changes in a system can lead to significant changes elsewhere, connecting seemingly unrelated events. Biological ecosystems. In biology, everything from the food chain to symbiotic relationships between organisms demonstrates how life is interconnected. Cultural and symbolic connections. Mythology and storytelling. Myths often connect natural phenomena with human stories, suggesting a universal pattern or connection. Cultural narratives. Every culture has ways of linking individual experiences to collective ones, showing how personal stories are part of a larger narrative. Linguistic connections. Languages evolve through borrowing and influence, showing how ideas, words, and concepts are interconnected across cultures. Practical examples. Technology. The internet is perhaps the most tangible proof of this, where any piece of information can link to another, creating a web where everything is potentially connected. Economics. Global economic systems show how local actions can have global impacts, with everything from currency fluctuations to trade policies affecting the world. History. Historical events are interconnected. What happens in one part of the world can influence events elsewhere. Limitations and considerations. Logical fallacy. Connecting anything to everything can also lead to the logical fallacy of overgeneralization or confirmation bias, where one seeks connections where none exist. Complexity. While connections exist, they might not always be direct, obvious, or significant. The complexity of these connections means not all are relevant or meaningful in every context. Subjectivity. Much of the evidence for this connection is subjective or depends on the framework of understanding one applies, for example, scientific, spiritual, or cultural. In summary, while there isn't a singular proof that everything is connected to everything else in an absolute sense, there are numerous philosophical, scientific, cultural, and practical frameworks that suggest deep, meaningful interconnections pervade our universe. These connections can be understood and appreciated, but it's crucial to acknowledge the boundaries of such interpretations to avoid misconstruing or overemphasizing connections where they might not hold significant meaning. Here's an improved and well-defined approach to thematic connections between surahs in the Quran. Well-defined thematic connections in the Quran definition. Thematic connections refer to the interlinking of surahs through shared or related subjects, moral teachings, spiritual lessons, and overarching narratives that reflect the Quranic coherence and unity of message. Criteria for thematic connections: fundamental beliefs, Tawhid, oneness of God. Connections based on the affirmation and explanation of God's singularity, linking surahs like Al-Ikhlas 112, Al-Kafirun 109, and Al-Fatiha 1. Prophethood. Surahs discussing the mission, trials, and guidance of prophets, creating a thematic thread among surahs such as Al-Anbiya 21, Yusuf 12, and Hud 11. Eschatology, Day of Judgment. Surahs that delve into the signs, events, and aftermath of the Day of Judgment, connecting Al-Qiyamah 75, Al-Waqiyah 56, and Al-Infitar 82. Ethical and moral framework, moral conduct. Surahs that provide ethical guidance like Al-Hujurat 49 on social etiquette and Al-Mumtahana 60 on loyalty and disavowal. Justice and equity. Connections between surahs that discuss principles of fairness such as Al-Ma'idah 5 and An-Nisa 4, focusing on legal and moral justice. Spiritual practices and devotion, rituals of worship, surahs emphasizing prayer, fasting, or charity, for example, Al-Baqarah 2, detailing prayer and fasting, and at Tawbah 9 on charity in the context of jihad. Spiritual growth, surahs that encourage spiritual reflection and growth, like Al-Muminun 23, with its depiction of true believers. Narrative and historical continuity, prophetic stories, thematic links through the narratives of prophets, providing continuity and moral lessons seen in surahs like Al-A'raf 7, Taha 20, and Al-Qasas 28 for Moses' story. Historical parables, surahs using the rise and fall of past nations as lessons such as Hud 11, Al-A'raf 7, and Ash-Shu'ara 26. Human condition and existence, life, death, and the afterlife. Surahs pondering over these existential themes, for example, Al-Mulk 67, Al-Insan 76, and Al-Waqiyah 56. Creation and purpose. Reflections on the signs in creation and human purpose, linking Al-An'am 6 and Al-Rum 30. Divine attributes and actions, mercy, forgiveness, and compassion. Surahs highlighting these attributes of God, like Al-Ghafir 40 and Az-Zumar 39. Power, wisdom, and sovereignty. Surahs that emphasize Allah's capabilities and wisdom, such as Al-Hadid 57 and Al-Baqarah 2. Methodology for analysis into surah mapping, creating visual or textual maps showing how themes connect across different surahs. Thematic clusters, grouping surahs by major themes to see how they collectively address a topic. Contextual understanding, using the historical context of Revelation to understand why certain themes are emphasized in different surahs. Comparative study, analyzing how different surahs approach similar themes from varied angles or with different emphases. Scholarly consensus, employing established tafsir, exegesis to ensure connections are not just speculative but rooted in scholarly tradition. Educational and spiritual application, holistic study, encouraging a holistic study of the Quran, where one theme is traced through multiple surahs for a comprehensive understanding. Thematic recitation, suggesting recitation or study of surahs in thematic sequences for spiritual reflection. Educational resources, developing educational materials or courses that teach the Quran through its interconnected themes. This well-defined approach allows for a deeper appreciation of the Quran's structure, coherence, and the divine wisdom in its organization, while respecting traditional scholarly methods. Here's an attempt to synthesize into a theory of everything for the Quran, which will be a speculative and broad framework, not to be confused with scientific theory of everything. In physics, Quranic Theory of Everything, QToE, core hypothesis. The Quran can be understood as an interconnected tapestry where its verses and surahs form a unified whole, not only through its linguistic, historical, and theological dimensions, but also through a speculative numerological matrix. This theory posits that every aspect of the Quran, from its themes to its numeric structure, reflects a coherent divine design. Components, thematic unity, belief, ethics, life. The Quran addresses the fundamental aspects of human existence, with each surah contributing to an overarching narrative of faith, morality, and purpose. Numerological coherence, digital roots. Every verse or surah number can be reduced to a digital root, suggesting an underlying numerical harmony that might reflect deeper symbolic or metaphysical connections. Structural interconnectivity, 6 degrees of separation. Analogously, any surah or verse can be linked to any other, through at most 6 thematic or structural connections, illustrating the Quran's intrinsic coherence. Historical and revelational context. The sequence, timing, and context of revelation provide layers of meaning. creating a narrative continuity that mirrors the unfolding of divine wisdom. Linguistic precision. The choice of words, rhythm, and style in the Quran not only conveys messages, but also connects surahs through shared vocabulary, rhyme, or literary devices. Spiritual and ethical guidance. The Quran serves as a guide for spiritual growth and ethical living, where themes are interwoven to provide a complete lifestyle framework. Methodology. Mapping, visualizing, or conceptualizing the connections between verses and surahs across all dimensions: thematic, numeric, linguistic. Comparison. Analyzing how different parts of the Quran echo or complement each other, revealing a unified message. Contextual analysis, considering the historical, cultural, and revelational context to understand the interconnectedness. Numerological inquiry, exploring mathematical patterns like digital roots, potentially linking them to themes or events within the Quran. Interdisciplinary approach, combining traditional exegesis with modern analysis techniques from mathematics, network theory, and linguistics implications. Educational. Offers a new educational paradigm where students can explore the Quran through multiple lenses, enhancing understanding and engagement. Spiritual. Encourages believers to see the Quran not just as a text, but as a living, interconnected system, deepening spiritual reflection. Scholarly provides a framework for further research into the Quran's structure, potentially leading to new insights into its miraculous nature. Limitations. Speculative nature. Much of this theory delves into numerology and speculative connectivity, which must be approached with caution and humility. Complementary role. This theory should complement, not replace, traditional exegesis, recognizing that the Quran's depth often transcends human analysis. Interpretative diversity. Different interpretations of connections or numeric patterns could lead to varied conclusions, necessitating a collaborative scholarly approach. Conclusion. The Quranic Theory of Everything, QToE, suggests that the Quran is not just a collection of verses, but a meticulously designed system where every part is intentionally linked to every other, forming a divine network of meaning. This theory invites continuous exploration and reflection, acknowledging that while human understanding can appreciate its coherence, the true depth of the Quran might always remain beyond full comprehension, urging a lifelong quest for knowledge and spiritual growth. Here's an attempt to synthesize into a theory of everything for the Quran, which will be a speculative and broad framework, not to be confused with scientific theory of everything. In physics, Quranic Theory of Everything, QToE, core hypothesis. The Quran can be understood as an interconnected tapestry where its verses and surahs form a unified whole, not only through its linguistic, historical, and theological dimensions, but also through a speculative numerological matrix. This theory posits that every aspect of the Quran, from its themes to its numeric structure, reflects a coherent divine design. Components: thematic unity, belief, ethics, life. The Quran addresses the fundamental aspects of human existence, with each surah contributing to an overarching narrative of faith, morality, and purpose. Numerological coherence, digital roots. Every verse or surah number can be reduced to a digital root, suggesting an underlying numerical harmony that might reflect deeper symbolic or metaphysical connections. Structural interconnectivity, 6 degrees of separation. Analogously, any surah or verse can be linked to any other, through at most 6 thematic or structural connections, illustrating the Quran's intrinsic coherence. Historical and revelational context. The sequence, timing, and context of revelation provide layers of meaning, creating a narrative continuity that mirrors the unfolding of divine wisdom. Linguistic precision. The choice of words, rhythm, and style in the Quran not only conveys messages, but also connects surahs through shared vocabulary, rhyme, or literary devices. Spiritual and ethical guidance. The Quran serves as a guide for spiritual growth and ethical living, where themes are interwoven to provide a complete lifestyle framework. Methodology. Mapping, visualizing, or conceptualizing the connections between verses and surahs across all dimensions: thematic, numeric, linguistic. Comparison. Analyzing how different parts of the Quran echo or complement each other, revealing a unified message. Contextual analysis, considering the historical, cultural, and revelational context to understand the interconnectedness. Numerological inquiry, exploring mathematical patterns like digital roots, potentially linking them to themes or events within the Quran. Interdisciplinary approach, combining traditional exegesis with modern analysis techniques from mathematics, network theory, and linguistics implications. Educational offers a new educational paradigm where students can explore the Quran through multiple lenses, enhancing understanding and engagement. Spiritual encourages believers to see the Quran not just as a text, but as a living, interconnected system, deepening spiritual reflection. Scholarly provides a framework for further research into the Quran's structure, potentially leading to new insights into its miraculous nature. Limitations, speculative nature. Much of this theory delves into numerology and speculative connectivity, which must be approached with caution and humility. Complementary role. This theory should complement, not replace, traditional exegesis, recognizing that the Quran's depth often transcends human analysis. Interpretative diversity, different interpretations of connections or numeric patterns, could lead to varied conclusions, necessitating a collaborative scholarly approach. Conclusion: the Quranic Theory of Everything, QToE, suggests that the Quran is not just a collection of verses, but a meticulously designed system where every part is intentionally linked to every other, forming a divine network of meaning. This theory invites continuous exploration and reflection, acknowledging that while human understanding can appreciate its coherence, the true depth of the Quran might always remain beyond full comprehension, urging a lifelong quest for knowledge and spiritual growth. Quranic Theory of Coherence, Axiomatic Structure, 6 Degrees of Connectivity, and Symbolic Digital Root, QToE, Theory Overview. The Quranic Theory of Coherence, QToE, proposes that the Quran exhibits an intricate divine coherence through its thematic, structural, and numeric elements. This theory integrates axiomatic structure, the 6 degrees of connectivity, and the symbolic use of digital roots to illustrate the Quran's unified essence. Axiomatic structure. Axiom 1, existence of verses and surahs. There exists a set V of all verses and a set S of all surahs in the Quran. Axiom 2, thematic unity. Each verse VV and surah SS is part of a thematic network where themes like belief, ethics, and life are interconnected. Axiom 3, structural coherence. The Quran's structure, including the order of surahs and verses, reflects a purposeful design where each element supports others. Axiom 4, linguistic consistency. The language used in the Quran is consistent in conveying its messages, with shared linguistic elements forming connections. Axiom 5, revelational context. The context of revelation provides a framework for understanding connections between surahs and verses. 6 degrees of connectivity theory. Axiom 6, interconnectivity. For any two verses V1, V2V, or surahs S1, S2S, there exists a path of connections, thematic, linguistic, or revelational, of no more than 6 degrees, ensuring the Quran's coherence. Theorem 1. Given the finite nature of the Quran, the connectivity between any two parts can be expressed within this framework, highlighting the text's unity. Symbolic digital root. Axiom 7, digital roots. Each verse or surah number can be reduced to a digital root, which symbolically represents aspects of its content or position in the Quran. Theorem 2. The digital root of a verse or surah number can be linked to its thematic or revelational significance, adding another layer of coherence. Application, digital root calculation. For every number and associated with a verse or surah, there's a function drn that gives a single digit 1, drn 9. Symbolic interpretation. Each digital root can be associated with specific Quranic themes or attributes. For example, 1 for unity, 7 for perfection. Detailed coherence, thematic coherence. Themes like Tawhid, prophethood, and the afterlife are recurrent, providing a narrative and moral consistency across the Quran. Linguistic coherence. The Quran's use of Arabic with its rhetorical devices ensures that linguistic elements echo across surahs, reinforcing messages. Revelational coherence. The chronological and contextual progression of revelation adds depth to the text's coherence, with earlier revelations often setting the stage for later ones. Numeric coherence. The speculative use of digital roots to find patterns or meaning in the Quran's structure suggests a numeric harmony that complements its thematic unity. Practical implementation. Mapping. Create networks or diagrams showing how verses and surahs connect through these axioms. Educational tools. Develop teaching methods that explore the Quran using this theoretical framework, enhancing both traditional and modern understanding. Digital analysis. Use software to calculate digital roots and map thematic connections, aiding in scholarly research and personal study. Limitations and considerations. speculative elements, the symbolic and numeric aspects require careful handling to avoid misinterpretation or overemphasis over the Quran's primary messages. Complementarity. This theory should complement traditional exegesis, not supplant it. Cultural and scholarly sensitivity. Any interpretation must respect the diverse scholarly traditions within Islam. Conclusion: the QToE represents a comprehensive approach to understanding the Quran's coherence by combining its thematic unity, structural design, connectivity, and numeric symbolism. It encourages a multifaceted exploration of the Quran, always with the acknowledgement that the text's true depth might transcend human analysis, inviting humility and continuous learning. The Quran, a divine revelation, possesses a remarkable coherence that has captivated hearts and minds for centuries. This sacred text, believed to be the word of God as revealed to Prophet Muhammad, is not just a collection of random verses, but a meticulously woven tapestry of divine wisdom. This intricate tapestry of verses, chapters, and themes reveals a profound interconnectedness, inviting us to explore its depths. Each verse, or ayah, and each chapter, or surah, is interlinked in a way that creates a harmonious whole, reflecting the divine source from which it originates. The Quranic Theory of Coherence, or QToE, offers a framework for understanding this interconnectedness, illuminating the Quran's internal harmony and deepening our appreciation for its divine origins. This theory suggests that every part of the Quran is connected to every other part, creating a unified message that transcends time and space. QToE emphasizes the Quran's multifaceted coherence, encompassing thematic, structural, linguistic, and numeric aspects. Thematic coherence refers to the way themes are interwoven throughout the text, while structural coherence looks at the arrangement of verses and chapters. Linguistic coherence examines the language and style, and numeric coherence explores the mathematical patterns within the text. By exploring these dimensions, we gain a more holistic understanding of the Quran's message and its relevance to our lives. This comprehensive approach allows us to see the Quran not just as a religious text, but as a guide for all aspects of life, offering wisdom and guidance for personal, social, and spiritual development. This approach encourages us to move beyond isolated verses and appreciate the grand tapestry of the Quran's wisdom. It invites us to see the Quran as a living document, one that speaks to us in different ways at different times, depending on our circumstances and needs. QToE serves as a valuable tool for both scholars and students of the Quran. For scholars, it provides a framework for in-depth analysis and research, allowing them to uncover new insights and connections within the text. For students, it offers a way to engage with the Quran on a deeper level, enhancing their understanding and appreciation of its teachings. It provides a framework for in-depth analysis, revealing hidden connections and deepening our understanding of the text. These connections can be thematic, structural, linguistic, or numeric, each offering a different perspective on the Quran's message and its divine origin. By embracing QToE, we embark on a journey of discovery, uncovering the Quran's timeless wisdom and its profound impact on our lives. This journey is not just an intellectual exercise, but a spiritual one, inviting us to connect with the divine and to find meaning and purpose in our lives through the teachings of the Quran. At the heart of QToE lies the concept of an axiomatic structure. This means that the Quran is built upon fundamental principles or axioms, much like a mathematical system. Just as mathematics relies on basic truths to build complex theories, the Quran uses these axioms to construct a comprehensive worldview. These axioms, often found in the early chapters or surahs of the Quran, serve as foundational truths upon which subsequent verses and chapters build. They are the bedrock of the Quranic message, providing a framework that supports the entire structure of the text. For example, Surah Al-Ikhlas, chapter 112, establishes the oneness of God, Tawhid, as a core principle. This chapter, though brief, encapsulates the essence of monotheism, declaring that God is unique, eternal, and beyond comparison. This axiom resonates throughout the Quran, shaping our understanding of God's attributes, His relationship with creation, and our purpose in life. It influences how we perceive divine justice, mercy, and the ultimate reality of existence. Similarly, the concept of human responsibility, introduced early in the Quran, serves as an axiom that guides our understanding of reward and punishment, free will and moral accountability. This principle underscores the importance of ethical conduct and the consequences of our actions. By recognizing these foundational axioms, we can better appreciate how different parts of the Quran relate to each other. The interconnectedness of these principles reveals a coherent and unified message, where each verse and chapter contributes to a larger, harmonious whole. Verses and chapters that might seem unrelated on the surface reveal a deeper connection when viewed through the lens of these underlying principles. This perspective allows us to see the Quran not as a collection of isolated teachings, but as an integrated system of thought. This axiomatic structure highlights the Quran's internal consistency and its profound depth. It demonstrates how the Quran addresses various aspects of life, from theology and law to ethics and spirituality, all rooted in its core principles. Understanding the axiomatic structure of the Quran also enhances our ability to interpret its teachings in a contemporary context. By grounding our interpretations in these fundamental principles, we can apply the Quranic message to modern challenges and issues. This approach fosters a deeper engagement with the text, encouraging us to explore its meanings and implications more thoroughly. It invites us to reflect on how the Quran's timeless wisdom can guide us in our daily lives. Ultimately, the axiomatic structure of the Quran serves as a testament to its divine origin and its enduring relevance. It reminds us that the Quran is not just a historical document, but a living guide that continues to inspire and enlighten. As we delve deeper into the Quran, let us keep these axioms in mind, allowing them to illuminate our understanding and enrich our spiritual journey. The Quran's axiomatic structure is a key to unlocking its profound wisdom and transformative power. QToE introduces the concept of 6 degrees of connectivity to illustrate the intricate web of relationships within the Quran. This principle suggests that any given verse in the Quran can be connected to any other verse through a maximum of 6 links or relationships. These connections can be thematic, linguistic, historical, or even based on the order of revelation. For instance, a verse about prayer might be linked to another verse about patience through the theme of spiritual discipline. Or a verse mentioning a specific prophet might be connected to another verse narrating an event from his life. The 6 degrees of connectivity highlights the Quran's remarkable coherence, demonstrating that no verse stands alone in its message. Each verse is part of a larger tapestry, woven together by a network of interconnected ideas, stories, and teachings. This principle encourages us to explore these connections, deepening our understanding of the Quran's message and its profound relevance to our lives. Numbers hold a special significance in the Quran, often conveying deeper meanings and symbolism. These numbers are not just random figures, but are believed to be imbued with divine wisdom and purpose. The Quran, being a text of profound spiritual and intellectual depth, uses numbers to communicate layers of meaning that go beyond the surface. QToE, or Quranic Theory of Everything, explores this aspect through the concept of symbolic digital root. This theory delves into the numerical patterns and sequences found within the Quran, aiming to uncover the hidden messages and divine codes that may be embedded within the text. The concept of the symbolic digital root involves reducing a number to a single digit by adding its individual digits together. This process, known as digit summing, is a simple yet powerful tool for uncovering deeper numerical relationships. For example, the digital root of 786 is 3, as 7 plus 8 plus 6 equals 21 and 2 plus 1 equals 3. This reduction process can be applied to any number, revealing a single-digit root that may hold symbolic significance. In the context of the Quran, the symbolic digital root can reveal hidden connections and patterns. These patterns may link different verses, chapters, or even entire themes within the Quran, providing a deeper understanding of the text's divine structure. For instance, the number 7 is often associated with creation, reflecting the 7 days of creation mentioned in the Quran. Similarly, the number 19 is linked to divine protection and preservation, as seen in the Quranic verse that mentions 19 angels guarding hell. By analyzing the digital roots of verse numbers, chapter numbers, or even the number of times a particular word appears, we can uncover fascinating insights into the Quran's structure and meaning. This numerical analysis can highlight the interconnectedness of different parts of the Quran, revealing a complex web of divine wisdom. It's important to approach the symbolic digital root with caution, avoiding far-fetched interpretations. While the numerical patterns can be intriguing, they should not be used to make speculative or unfounded claims about the Quran's message. While it can offer valuable insights, it should always be used in conjunction with traditional methods of Quranic exegesis, ensuring that our understanding remains grounded in the text's linguistic and contextual nuances. The symbolic digital root is a tool that, when used responsibly, can enhance our appreciation of the Quran's divine complexity and beauty, but it should never replace the foundational principles of Quranic interpretation.